Right, one or two of you have very kindly said nice things about the last textural work I did of the woodland and water. Here we are with the twin, but we're doing it on the vertical this time. The water's going to be here and all the rocks and things here, central tree coming up and reflecting the branches coming through. So we're going to do that one now. Here's a photograph of it again, so you can see how the finished piece will be using those textures and shapes. And the first thing I'm going to do as before is put on the plaster, fine filler, interior filler mixed with some PVA glue. And build up these trees and basic textures, and then we'll add the rice and the polystyrene afterwards. Won't spend too long showing you, I'll show it in different parts so we don't get bored. And then again we should prime it in black emulsion and finish with the painting, which I'll describe in more detail later. Right, let's start with these big old trees then, shall we? And just layer it in there. So I can use my fingers for most of this sort of building work, it's quite fun. Just build it up, make sure that you stick it onto the board well. We can use forks or painting knives and so on to texture it, but the main thing is to make sure at first that it's well stuck onto the board. So we don't just want to use fine filler, we do need to put a bit of PVA into it as well, or it's liable to split. You can even use the stuff on canvas. But if you do, then you need a bit more PVA glue as well to make it even more flexible. Right up and down. I find that with the thinner branches I'm able to just run the filler between my fingers like this, between two fingers, and let the channel that's left become the branch or the twigs. That way I make it stick onto the board well, and I can control the thickness of it as it comes out. Look, and it gives us a raised branch. Do it with a tree here. Got a big tree here, so we're going to come across there and build that up like we do the other one. There's a triangle in between this one that comes up. A smooth area just in between there. This bit here. And here we've got a load of bits of grass and stuff growing, and I'm going to just use my fingers to pull it out. For most of this work we can use our hands to make the textures we want. Now if I use my fingers to paddle on here, the glue on the end, I can make textures already. As it sticks to my fingers it lifts and gives me quite a nice leafy texture there. And you can see where I've gone smoother there for the water. There's a nice swirling mass of texture going on. And I've got to draw some of these branches back in there again afterwards. And I'll go back and texture around them because we've got some trees coming down through here. And I'm gradually building up the backgrounds here with some of these branches and things in there as well. Texturing in between with my fingers, and I'm going to come back with some more texture later with the rice and the grains. So well on the way now. Come to the water areas, we can just smooth those down directly. And very much like painting, we'll put in the verticals first, right down through here, like that, and then we'll just bring a few of the horizontals through it, just to give the feeling of water before we even get to the actual painting part of it. When that's built up. And then again, as I was doing with the branches, we can just run plaster between my fingers to get the feeling of these roots and things here. So I'm almost ready now for doing my main textures, where I'm going to bring on the polystyrene and... Right, there's about half a bag of rice in there and the glue, and we're going to come back in and the problem is where to put the picture I'm working on it. We'll work on the lower half first, just drop in these textures in between here to the stones. Because we're using our hands most of the time, I haven't really needed to use my painting knives very much doing these. Not on this particular series anyway, it depends on the texturing you require of course. And again, it's the rough next to the smooth, isn't it? So now we can start to build up these leaves. We've got quite a lot of leaf structure here that's very similar to this. Right, that's our fine textures done with rice. Now we'll go and get some polystyrene. So once again we've got a nice mixture of polystyrene bits all ground up there, ready to go. This now, we've put these larger pieces into place. As lumps of stone and things all the way through here to make sure that they stick down. So I put plenty of glue with this, and you can use some of them up here for some of the larger leaves as well. There we go, I think that one's texturally got enough on it. Just have to let these all dry off now. Shall we go around the outer edge again just to make a nice border? Well, it looks quite pretty like it is now, doesn't it, in a way, but unfortunately we've got to destroy all that now and paint it all black. So we take our black emulsion and slap it all in again. Get all that background. Remember, try and get rid of all the white, and we can start, when it's dry, we can start the actual painting. Right, well, so we've covered it in black emulsion, ready, just has to dry off. We can take it upstairs, put it on the easel, and we'll be working colours into that one as well. Well, I'm about to start on this tall one now. We've done the one on the landscape size, shape. Now we're doing a portrait one, if you like. Same landscape. I've just put two of the photographs together slightly to get a bit more in here, as you've seen on the beginning of the film. And we're going to work it up in the same way. We've got the daylight bulb in, and we're going to work acrylics over it now. So what I want to start with is the lighter background here. I'm going to work a few colours in there. I'm going to start with a very light creamed pink. In fact, what I might do is actually make a slight orangey colour here. Just take some white, my body colour, get this brush going, with a little touch of chrome yellow. Really not a very light colour to start with. I'm going to put some pink over here in a minute, put a light blue, which will have to make the light vibrate through here. And I'm going to put darks back over again later on these areas. I've mentioned this before in my films, but as an impressionist, when I use colour, it really is akin to painting with light for me. Right, now I'm going to come back to saying a very light pink. So that I can make these colours vibrate one to another, much as the Impressionists did. You can see how that now already starts to sparkle in there. When I put the blues next to that as well, we'll really get the feeling of sunlight and daylight coming down through here. Got these pinks in down here. It's a lot warmer, in fact. These pinks down here are quite strong. When you've got the colour on your brush, use it. If it's elsewhere, we put it in. And already you see the effects of light starting. Look at these lovely warms coming in down here across these textures. There'll be much more purple going on down here soon too, and the blues in too. And the paint will sink slightly because of the dark underpainting. And play these warms against the greens, reds against the greens. Opposites in the colour circle up here. And some of that red's coming in, even through the leaves and things up here. Look how I've got to start now on the very pale blues that I wanted to do into the sky. So I really get the vibration of this daylight coming through. I'm going to take a bit of cerulean now, and white. And I'm going to start to bring some of that cool against it. Look at the effect we get, look. Absolutely gorgeous. The same going to be happening down here. I need these cools working against the warms here to get the effect of light coming through. Stronger with the blues there in just a moment, just to get me started. And I'm going to go a little bit warmer with my blues, and just a little bit of green into them now. We just start to add them down into the stones and pebbles down here. These much stronger blues. In fact, into here I'm going to start adding pure ultramarine. I really want these colours to vibrate and push against each other. Alright, it's almost time for us to start on the greens, I think. We're starting these very light greens in the background now, very yellow greens. I'm going to use a lot of lemon yellow at first. Lemon yellow and white. Start off with. There's a much yellower, cooler yellow than the warmer yellow I put into the sky earlier, look. Now into that we start to get some green going. Behind here, I want to get it into behind it more. Up through here. Pushing in right around these trees. Leaving some of the darks and the textures showing through, which is why we put this black in the first place, so that this could happen. Working between these branches. You work up these greens and put more and more warmer greens in a minute. So I'm starting off with quite light colours here. I'm just putting some darker ones in a moment. Just want to find these highlights and establish where things are. Okay, let's start working to some deeper greens now. Much richer, deeper greens. As we said before, what's the point in doing it if you don't enjoy it? And when it comes to this stage of the painting, it is just so enjoyable. Need to get a sort of purple mauve colour going here. Let's take some of my purple deliberately and add a little bit of white to it just so we can see it, because it's a bit too dark at the moment. We'll just drop a bit of that down here. Yes, needs to be a bit lighter still maybe. Maybe just a bit more warmth down here as well, we'll see in a moment. Let's just get this purple going. It goes right up into here through the trees. When you get these colours going, you suddenly see them. Now I'm going to add a little bit of cerulean blue to the purple. And we'll just start to bring a purple blue through here. Really try to get these lights working for us. Down here we've got quite a light piece shining. The water's just shining through there, I think. We can really play these textures this way. I want to go creamer again. Bring some of these light creams back over here. To this water here as well. Just skimming over some of these textures to get the feeling of the wet stones. And bringing out highlights behind these lighter leaves as we go on. The turquoise will play against the warmer greens. Keep touching up the texture so we can see them. And it's amazing how quickly the picture can come together. I'm going to go back to my very darks and blacks a minute, so to bring out some of these reflections. Let's look at the warms. We've got some more warms to go into the foreground that we haven't quite achieved yet. Replay these warms against the cools again. You see them in one place, you see them in another. If that lighten things up a bit too in places, a bit more sunlight is coming through down here. And I want to come back into that sunlight on the grasses. It seems to be a little bit lost again, so this will be just brought out a bit more. And here, especially where the sunlight's just catching over these grasses, it's sunk too much. There we are. So that brings that back again. So a few strokes can do it in the right place. Come back on some of these very light colours in the background too. Because we've lost a lot of the sparkle back here. There's a lot more light going on under and around here than I've got. Let's get some pure white into places. The white will tint because it'll go down slightly with the background anyway, but just a few shapes that I want to bring out a bit more. For instance here, this tree is a little bit heavy. I want it to come in a bit here. Do a bit lighter in the centre there. Lighter just there. Keep working on things until you're happy. Don't give in too easily. Don't think, oh, I don't want to make a mess and stop. If you wish to work at it, do more. All these beautiful little highlights, and in fact we'll put some more white back into the sky in places too here and there, just to brighten things up here. But of course the lighter I make these, the more the darks will stand out as well, so it worked to my advantage in all ways. After this we're going on to the sunflower series. That's going to be rather long too. Well, there we are. I think I've about played that one up. Don't do too much more on there. So I think that will do it. Let's take a close look at the texture, shall we? So, onto the sunflowers next then.